A very good morning, sir, and the members of the audience. At the Entrepreneurship Development Cell and Incubation Center, we firmly believe that entrepreneurship holds the key to unleashing India's untapped creative potential. To bring this vision to life, we curate impactful events throughout our calendar year, designed to ignite and cultivate corporate acumen among participants. Inspired by our mission, we are collaboratively working with the institution's Innovation Council to foster an entrepreneurial mindset within students. Our goal is to kindle an innovative spirit, strengthening a culture of creativity and resourcefulness among the student community. An institution's Innovation Council has been established as per norms of Innovation Cell, Ministry of Education, Government of India, in St. Xavier's College Autonomous Kolkata by the Entrepreneurship Development Cell and Incubation Center. IIC is dedicated to bridging the gap that often separates entrepreneurs from the resources which they need to transform their ideas into flourishing startups. Our vision is to create a seamless synergy between creativity and implementation. Through expert guidance and a strong network of industry pioneers, we help transform innovative ideas into successful ventures.
Today marks the opening ceremony of our event, Enterprise 2026. This entrepreneurial simulation is designed to foster teamwork and business acumen. It makes the participants showcase their skills in order to prove victorious in highly competitive tasks and introduces them to the harsh and grueling corporate held at the intercollege level. Last year, Enterprise saw a participation of over 300 students from across the nation. This year as well, we aim to reach out to all colleges and make it a memorable and enriching experience for them. It is my absolute honor and privilege to extend a warm welcome to a highly passionate leader and experienced individual. We present to you Mr. Kaushik Mitra as our keynote speaker for the opening ceremony of Enterprise 2026. Mr. Kaushik Mitra is the Vice President and CFO of PepsiCo India, a seasoned finance veteran with over 3 decades of global experience across organizations such as Tata Group, GE, and Reckitt Benckiser. Beyond the corporate world, he is celebrated author whose recent book, The Career Edge: The Unwritten Rules of Success, has become a valuable guide for professionals seeking long-term impact and growth. A proud alumnus of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, Mr. Mitra holds an MBA from IIM Calcutta and is a chartered accountant. We sincerely thank him for joining us to inaugurate Enterprise 2026 and for returning to campus to share his insights on building a sustainable and meaningful career with the next generation. Sir, we appreciate you taking the time to share your insights on building a sustainable career, and we look forward to your address. I would now request our esteemed speaker to take over the proceedings of today's session and share his enriching insights with us.
Great, great. Thank you very much. I don't know whether I'm audible. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
great. No, it's always a privilege and a very pleasant experience for me to come back and talk to students and folks who are starting their careers. And, it is a sense of purpose for me to pay it forward and give back what I wished when I was starting off 35 years back, somebody would have done for me. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think this is probably the third time that I'm speaking at this St. Xavier's Forum. A lot of fond memories. Growing up in in Calcutta, going to college, St. Xavier's College, and and a little bit of a quick background about myself. So been so I grew up in a middle class family in Calcutta, and then traveled quite a bit. So I have worked in many companies. I worked in in Indian companies like the Goenkas, the Tatas, and then I worked also in multinational companies. I worked in GE, I worked in Reckitt Benckiser, and then last 24 years in PepsiCo. And my corporate journey has taken me from Calcutta to Delhi to Chennai, and then to Dubai, and then to Ho Chi Minh City, to Hong Kong. And um, what I have learned over my 35 years of professional life, I'm going to share some snippets of that. And I decided to put all my experiences into a book, because I think I people like us owe it to capture our experiences, our lived experiences, uh, and share it back with folks like you, so that you can complement the theory that you're learning in our educational institutions along with the practical reality of the corporate world. And that will make you better prepared for what lies ahead as you navigate your career. So, The Career Edge is a book which is a practitioner's guide. It is meant to be a mentor in a book form who you can fall back on. And it shares not only actually less of successes, but more of learnings from failure, and how important failure is for us to shape our character and shape our professional journeys. So it's a real book and it is real experiences. So grab a copy, and I'm happy. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I think you'll put up my please share my LinkedIn and Insta links so that you guys can connect with me. Let me talk about three things. Number one, and that's all captured in my book. The first part is how do you develop yourself? And all this will lead up to how you build a sustainable long term career. Now, we live in a world which is changing very, very rapidly. As you can imagine, when we were growing up 35 years back, things were changing, but not so fast. I mean, the biggest thing that's happened in our time is, let's say, the mobile phones, the internet connectivity, and the computers, right? Uh, but what's happening now is dramatic. Imagine the artificial intelligence algorithms. My son introduced me. I have a 26-year-old son. He's a software engineer, and he introduced me to this concept of Chat GPT about 5 years back. And then I just laughed at it, and I said, "What is this?" But look at it now. 5 years, the algorithm has become so much more developed, so much smarter. And going forward, I can't imagine what another 2, 3 years will do to these algorithms. So we have to retool ourselves, and we must be the version of ourselves that is relevant not today but tomorrow in this rapidly changing world. So let me talk a little bit about some of the things that I have found which are important. And the first concept that I want to talk about is a Zen Buddhism concept called Soshin, Soshin. And that means having a beginner's mind. We have to be agile learners all through our life. I can't tell you, I am still learning every day. And why that is so important is to stay relevant. We have to be abreast of not what we have done in the past and the knowledge we have acquired in the past, but anticipate what's coming in the future and proactively acquire that knowledge. So, learning agility is very, very important. So, the question that you have to ask yourself is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? You will be surprised. I keep asking myself that question, and my aim is to do something for the first time at least once in 3 months so that I refresh myself. Yesterday, I was at Baroda at a Lit Fest, and it was a youth Lit Fest organized by students who are between 16 years and 20 years. And it was so amazing to feel the energy and vibrancy of that forum. And that was the first time for me. And I put out a LinkedIn post. The organization down to the last detail is something that only corporate teams can really aspire to. So the youth of the country today has phenomenal talent. But what you will need is to keep learning. So learning agility is, I think, the number one criteria for long-term success. Read it up. The second thing is thinking. And you might ask, thinking, what is that? All of us know how to think. Please don't. What is so great in thinking? No, that's very important. I have seen people who succeed. They are able to, what I call, get onto the balcony and think strategically, long term, look at the external environment, look at the opportunities and headwinds and tailwinds, and then strategize accordingly. At the same time, they can get down to the what I call the balcony, the dance floor, sorry, where all the action is happening, and execute. So you have to be comfortable in thinking strategically, long term, wide lens, at the same time rolling up your sleeves and getting on to the action on the dance floor. People who are able to straddle these two spectrums of thinking, strategic thinking and getting things done operationally, they do very, very well in life. And in my experience, people tend to have a penchant for one of those, right? I always like strategic thinking. I always liked getting up on the balcony and looking at the long term perspective. But most of my life has been in the operational area, making things happen, taking decisions, solving problems. So life will give you this unique opportunity of being strategic and being operational. You have to grab that. And you may have a strength in one, but apply it as the situation needs. And what I define by strategy is doing the right thing, whereas execution is doing things right. So imagine you are in Calcutta and you want to go to Chennai and you board a flight to Delhi. That's the wrong strategy. The flight is good, it will go fast in both directions. So you execute well, but the direction is wrong. So strategy is very important, doing the right things. Execution is equally important, provided you have the strategy right. So doing the right thing and doing it well is the uh, best way forward, right? So learn to think strategically. At the same time, learn to roll up your sleeves and get things done. That's the second thing. The third thing is communication. Now, again, you might ask, what's so great about communication? But communication is the language of business. And communication does not mean how good you are in English. At the end of the day, in professional life, we are all working with people. And I've seen people who succeed, they are great communicators. So, what are the some pointers in terms of what good communication is? In my book, the number one factor in good communication is understanding the audience. I went to Vietnam and I like speaking in English. And I realized that the Vietnamese, and I used to work with a lot of Vietnamese and some Japanese, it was a joint venture. I mean, they didn't understand my English. And so I had to literally slow down, speak slowly, and ask whether you understood what I said. I went to Dubai and I had a team which had no Indians. And so I could not speak in Hindi. So it's not about the English language, it is about the audience and therefore understanding your audience. Imagine you are in the elevator and you have to communicate to your CEO in maybe 45 seconds your great idea that you have. You can't make a fantastic 20-page presentation and present it. You have no time to do that. So what is required there is what we literally call an elevator speech. So the other aspect of communication is being brief. Today, I see multiple presentations, multiple proposals, and I get a little frustrated when people come and spin their stories. Whenever I see a presentation which is more than 10 slides, I know there is a story there. Right? The best presentations, best communications are short, they are brief, they are to the point. Attention spans today, particularly for senior management, is very, very low. If you want to grab attention, it's the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds. That's the golden period. Otherwise, you've lost it. So, being brief is very, very important. And the third thing, communication is not about you. Communication is about the person that you are communicating to and whether he or she or the larger group is getting the message and understanding. Therefore, building that connect is very, very important. And it is different methods, different styles for different audiences. When I communicate with my team, it's a more personal, inspirational tone. When I'm communicating with my bosses and seniors or the board, it's a very formal, professional tone. When I'm communicating with my peers, it's a mix of both. So, communication is important. People who communicate effectively, they succeed. The fourth aspect is adaptability. You know, they don't teach us adaptability in school, colleges, universities. I have a lot of degrees, but honestly, at the end of my education, and if I look back now, what have I learned? I have basically learned English and maths. I always loved words, but I got stuck with a career in numbers. But I wish somebody had taught me adaptability when when I was in college and in university and doing my MBA or the CA course, right? But life has taught me adaptability. Let me give you an example. So I go to from Delhi, I go to Chennai, right? And I moved from one business to another business within the same company, but it's very different. The stakeholders are different, the culture is different, the nuances of the business is different, and I feel like an outsider. I'm trying to fit in, but I'm not able to fit in, and I struggle. And after a few months of struggle, I'm so frustrated. I feel, oh God, I think I need to look for another job. And then something dawns inside me. And that message and that voice tells me maybe the problem is in your own head. You are expecting your environment to change, and you are expecting others to change. But the real solution lies in you changing yourself and adapting to your new environment. And therefore, the question then I ask myself is what difference does the difference work? It's the same company. The business is more or less the same. Okay, there are some different nuances, but I'm smart enough to learn the business. The stakeholders are different. Instead of expecting everybody to change for me, why don't I adapt to my new environment? And why don't I embrace my new reality? And the day I started doing that, things started getting better and better and better. And that was one of my richest and I would say most memorable stints in my career so far. I spent 3 years in that business in Chennai, and I used to handle all of South, the four states of the South. So there's a lesson for life, not only for me, but for all of you. Because one thing is for sure that things are not going to be the same. And therefore, you have to work on what I call the AQ, the adaptability quotient. And I've got an entire chapter in my book on adaptability. And I've given many suggestions in terms of how you can do that. One suggestion is, as we become, and once you join industry and you start your careers and you go on for some time, you will realize that in your mind you're gathering baggage, what I call, baggage. And so once you are in your mid career, you will realize that you have an opinion on everything, and therefore you're not listening to others, and that's not a good place to be. Back to that Soshing concept, mind like a child, a mind which is willing to learn. So one advice on improving adaptability is, don't carry baggage. Remove the baggage and open up your mind to fresh learning. And the question to ask is, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? And the problem is in our own heads most of the time, right? So learn to adapt. I mean, in terms of, if you go back to chemistry and substances, be like water, right? Which is fluid. Don't be like a rock and rigid. Then the other part, which I think today is probably one of the most powerful aspects of long-term success, and that is resilience. Our education system, and nothing against the education system, right? But after having worked for so many years, I realized that life prepares you much more for success or failure, uh, in a way, than, or it at least complements what we have learned in our schools and colleges. And one thing for sure that my realization is that resilience is more important than brilliance in today's VUCA world. Or if that's too controversial a statement, I would say resilience is as important as brilliance. Of course, the best combination is both. But we are all, as a nation and as a system, focused on brilliance. I wish we focused equally on building resilience. And resilience comes from accepting failure and learning from it. Let me tell you another story. So I went to Vietnam, and it's a very, very different country, right? And I'm in my, maybe 10th day into the job. And in that joint venture, uh, information technology also reported to me as CFO. And one day, the head of IT, who's a local Vietnamese person, he comes to me and he says, "Boss, the systems are down. The servers have crashed, and everything is down." And within 5 minutes, my boss, who's who's actually a Suntory person, he comes and says that sales has stopped, manufacturing has stopped. You are sitting on your chair. What are you doing? And I suddenly realized, oh God, what's happening? And then I called my IT head again and said, "Please fix this." And he looked at me and said, "Boss, this has never happened before. You are a smart person. You have come from India. Indians are very smart. I'm sure you can fix it." I said, "Oh no, why is this happening to me right now?" I felt like a victim. I was trying to wish away the problem. I was thinking, oh God, why couldn't this have happened 10 days before I came? So I was in this, what I call like a deer in the middle of the road with the headlight shining on me, completely frozen in my tracks. And that victim stayed in my head, stayed for at least 2, 3 days. And then, like all good things happen, in the early hours of dawn, I couldn't get sleep. And therefore, one morning I woke up early, grabbed a coffee, came to office, and I was looking out the window, literally like a story. Yeah. And then I realized that, look, if I don't do anything about it, nothing is going to happen. So I got that clarity that something has to be done. So I moved that day from what I call the victim stage to what I call the karna kya hai stage. The karna kya hai is as powerful a word as the Three Idiots, all is well. Life में you'll always have this करना क्या है dilemma. And the faster you move to करना क्या है, the better you will be. So I moved to this stage. Then I called some of my friends, and there are some senior people in other companies also who were Indians, who were friends, and we were connected. And they said, no, our system is also down. And then I don't know whether you guys have read, some of you would have read Dale Carnegie's book, I Am Okay, You Are Okay. The human, we all come from animals, right? So our best situation is, I am okay, you are not okay. And our worst situation is, I am not okay and you are okay. But we are okay with, you're not okay, I'm also not okay. So this situation for me was, I am not okay, somebody else is also not okay, which is fine. So I felt a little better. And then I thought, okay, let's do something about it. I moved from karna kya hai to really working on it. And I'm not going to tell you how we solved the problem. We solved the problem in a few days. So what started as a feeling like a victim, disaster, failure, translated to an opportunity, and then we got the systems up before others did and got some more sales actually. This is a lesson for everybody, and life is going to throw you these curved balls. Life is going to throw you these moments where you feel like a victim. And resilience is what happens in your head when such an event happens. And those people who are able to move from the victim stage to the karna kya hai and the opportunity stage very, very quickly compared to the others, they will have a competitive edge in life. And this philosophy, or this, I would say powerful leadership insight, doesn't only apply to professional life, it also applies to personal life. In fact, I think the toughest resilience challenges are personal. Imagine a personal loss, you know, those things are probably the hardest to get out of. So, in professional life, be ready to fail, but don't feel like a victim. Work on the opportunity. And so I have a full chapter on resilience in my book. There are many more, and there are many ways, or I would say methods in which one can build resilience. We are a resilient country, honestly. A 1.4 billion nation where there is not enough for everybody. We have that resilient mindset. And I've seen Indians, and I've worked outside also, outside the country. I see that that is a competitive advantage that as a country we have, and as people we have. We are resilient because the set of circumstances that are handed out to us are a difficult set of circumstances, right? And we have to make the most of it. But it's what happens in your head. And the last point on developing yourself is very, very close to my heart. And that's on values, ethics, and integrity. And I can't tell you, I have seen brilliant careers get cut short because of that one indiscretion, of that one wrong act, right? Or that one compromise of values, and the entire credibility goes to zero. So this is something for me is like oxygen. And I would urge all of you who are basically going to be the future of the country. You all are going to be the fabric of the the Indian corporate world over the next few decades. And I can't tell you how exciting the overall opportunity in India is. I went to IIM Shillong and I was listening to the somebody from who's worked at the RBI before talking about the democratic dividend in India. That is going to fuel, I mean, anywhere between 7 to 8 to 9% GDP growth over the next several decades. And we are a young country, will remain a young country till 2055 compared to all the other places where people are getting older, population is getting older. So the opportunity and the excitement of India continues. But I would urge you to create the ethical fabric of the corporate setup. And for me, integrity is 100% or nothing. And what I'm going to say now is very, very powerful, because each one of us, our true character, it's not for others to judge. We are the best judge of our own self. And therefore, we are what we are in an empty room where nobody is watching us. Think about that. We are and you are who you are in an empty room where nobody is watching you. That is the true test of your character. That's the true test of integrity. That's the true test of values. Therefore, whenever you have a dilemma, which is, okay, I would say business on one side and doing things the right way, values, ethics, and integrity on the other side, when there is a conflict, choose the values, ethics, and integrity, because your credibility depends on it. Maybe you will lose some short term advantage, but in the long term, people will remember you for having done the right thing. And I've been on compliance and ethics committee across the world. I can't tell you, and there are hundreds of instances that I've seen of folks going the wrong way and then paying a heavy price. There are no shortcuts in life, right? So those are the things on a development side, and there are many more. So I talked about soshing, mind like a child, and keep learning. Be a lifelong learner. I talked about thinking, and thinking is all about balcony and the dance floor, strategic long-term thinking, along with rolling up your sleeves and getting into the thick of action. I talked about communication and how important it is to understand the audience, how important it is to be brief, and how important it is to really get your message across. Adaptability, adaptability, adaptability. In this VUCA world, adaptability is going to be your weapon to keep you relevant and keep you successful for a long time. Resilience beats breakfast. Resilience beats brilliance for breakfast. Culture beats strategy. Resilience beats brilliance. But it's okay to have both, right? But focus on resilience. We are too focused on brilliance and values, integrity, 100% or nothing. So that's the first part of my talk, which is around, and how am I doing on time? Am I doing okay? Okay, take that as an okay. The next part is all about working with people, because again, the corporate world is a team sport. It's not a solo sport, and therefore you will be playing the game as member of a team. And success in the corporate world in the long term, as you become middle managers and senior managers, success will be more linked to team success, business success, rather than your personal success. In a sense, it's like, Sachin scoring a century or Kohli scoring a century and India losing the game, right? It is India winning the game and your organization winning, of which you are a part. That becomes more important than individual success. So you have to work with people. So, what does it take to work with people effectively? And I talk about three things. The first one is about influence. And when I look at influence, all the time in our lives, we are influencing. This conversation is also a process of influence. Why are you listening to me on a Wednesday morning patiently? Because there is a credibility that or a trust that you have in me to be listening to me. So influence is about three things. Number one, and actually it's three Greek words: ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos basically means credibility. Credibility means, who are you? Why should somebody listen to you? Why should somebody be influenced by you? Why should somebody be led by you? And in today's world, that's very, very, very important. Think of each one of yourself as a brand. Okay. What do you stand for? What is your personal ethos? How do people talk about you? How will people remember you? Let's take our favorite brands, like, let's say, the Tatas. What do they stand for? And the first thing that comes to mind is values, trust. Let's say Apple. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Innovation, technology, right? So, what kind of a brand are you? What are the three? If you ask people, okay, tell me three things about me, what would they say? Therefore, the first part of influencing is credibility, and credibility is your leadership ethos. So, if you haven't thought of it, start thinking of yourself like a brand. And over the period of the next, you know, your professional journeys, start building your leadership ethos. Now, how to build ethos? In my opinion, certain things always work across the globe. I have seen it always helps. No matter wherever I have gone, few things are common. One is being authentic and being genuine. People always like leaders, professionals, colleagues who are genuine, who are not selfish, okay, and they are authentic, and therefore build that authenticity in each one of you, and that's going to be very, very important for building your leadership ethos. So authenticity is number one, I would say. Cuts across cultures, cuts across countries in building credibility. The second is consistency, reliability, and dependability. That's very important. I'm not saying that you have to always succeed, but you have to be dependable. Because again, in a team sport, if you're focusing too much on your individual brilliance, then that doesn't help, right? You have to be a dependable member of the team. So be a team player. In organizations, we like folks who are team players. Maybe you represent a function, but then you are part of a larger team. And therefore, you're able to help pass on the baton, run with the baton, right? Collaborate on projects, get into cross functional initiatives, break down the functional silos. So it's very important to be a team player. Everybody likes team players. Then the other aspect is, what I call bringing your best self to work. Now we have to bring our head, our heart, and our hand to the job every day. The head and the hand will come, otherwise, you won't survive. But it is the heart which keeps us going the long distance. So, being a good professional and building your credibility also depends a lot on how you show up at work. Now, I've seen a lot of people with long faces, and maybe something has happened in their personal life or whatever it is. You know, they struggle to do that. But uh, and as you become senior and senior, for leaders at the top of the organization, let's say, good leaders are the ones who are able to always what they call greet with intent. It doesn't matter what's happening inside, but externally, you always see the best version of the leader, the positive version, giving oxygen, not carbon dioxide. So all these things add up to building credibility. So focus on your leadership ethos, focus on your personal brand. Are you going to be more like Google, Amazon? Are you going to be more, how will people remember you, right? By. The second aspect of influence is logos, which is logic. Now, all of us are very good at logic. Indians typically are very, very good at logic. We are very, very left brain. You put 10 Indians in one room, we will keep arguing and we will not come to a consensus. So logic is something that we don't need to worry about. We have enough of logic. But the third aspect, which I call pathos, is a very, very powerful theme for professional success. Don't use it enough. And what I mean by pathos is emotional connect. Normally in the corporate world, relationships are very transactional. You need something from me, you come to me. I need something from you, I go to you. But how do you go beyond just the transactional and interact with people without any, I would say, selfish motive? Maybe sit down and listen, maybe help even when you don't need to help, right? Go that extra mile in building that connect and relationship. That works like magic. And therefore, if you're able to work on, I would say, ethos and pathos, you will be able to succeed in professional life. If I think about the audiences, when we are, let's say, managing our bosses, typically you use logic and you use some amount of credibility, right? When you're working with your cross-functional peers, your colleagues, right? What you need is a combination of credibility, actually all three, right? And when you're working with your team down, you need pathos more. They don't care how successful you are. They care more about how genuine you are. They care more about are you interested in them, right? And so that emotional connect becomes more and more important. So that's the triangle of influence. There's a full chapter in the book, The Career Edge, on the triangle of influence. I think it's very, very powerful, and leverage that. The second aspect of working with others is related to this, but another very powerful theme, and that is trust. Now, I have been in probably 25 roles in my career, and every time that I've gone to a new role, most of the times I've started with zero, familiarity in terms of either the people or the set of circumstances or, basically the stakeholders. So I have this 30, 60, 90-day plan. I take a piece of paper and I put it down. I can't see the screen. I don't know whether. Okay. So I put down the stakeholders on a piece of paper and then I create what I call a trust account, meaning how much trust do I have with each one of those individuals? And probably the balances are very, very low when I start in the job. But within 90 days, my endeavor is to build a decent trust account balance with each of my stakeholders. Because in corporate life, things happen at the speed of trust. If people don't trust you, teams don't trust each other, nothing gets done. I have seen simple problems. People keep sending emails. I've got 50 emails, and it feels like a tennis match in Wimbledon, back and forth, and I'm copied on all the emails where they can't solve a simple problem. And I've also seen very, very difficult issues. Two people with high trust, two teams with high trust, they work it out. And sometimes it's okay to basically say, I don't agree with you, but I trust you. And I'm sure that what you are doing is the right thing. So I will go with you, agreeing to disagreeing and moving ahead. Because in corporate life, the whole idea is about momentum, not getting stuck. So building trust is extremely important. Life, again, will set you up with different stakeholders. Focus on building trust and focus on building trust quickly. The first 90 days matter. Okay. People form an opinion very, very quickly, typically. And as you grow in your careers, that time frame will come. As you get to senior roles, people form opinions even faster. Yeah. So again, I have an entire chapter on trust, and I've shared some of the thoughts in terms of how you can build trust. Very, very powerful theme in professional success. And imagine relationships, right? I mean, imagine even personal relationships. Personal relationships also, like, the foundations of any personal relationship is respect and trust, isn't it? Without that, again, it's a little bit like the ethics and integrity point. It's like oxygen, right? Without that, you cannot breathe, cannot survive. The third aspect in working with people, and this is also very, very close to my heart, is this whole aspect of diversity and inclusion. So again, I'll tell you a story. I went to Dubai, and this is the head office for PepsiCo, for everything other than the US and Europe. In those days, I'm talking about a decade back. And I had a team which was somebody from China, somebody from Guatemala, somebody from Venezuela, somebody from Colombia, somebody from the UK, somebody from Turkey, somebody from Lebanon, no Indians. And it's the first time I really came face to face with the diverse and inclusive culture of the organization. And my boss was an American, and her boss was an Italian, and we all reported to the head of the sector, who was a Jordanian. Can you imagine the situation? I was used to doing things in India my way, talking in Hindi sometimes, talking in local language sometimes, giving instructions on the phone all the time. And I struggled. For the first 6 months, I really, really struggled. But then I realized again the problem was in my head. And for example, some things are cultural. The Chinese person didn't talk because culturally they are very, they are quiet in meetings. The Colombian person kept talking. Once I understood the nuance, then I could balance that conversation. And the Chinese person had a lot of great ideas. So it was my job to just give him the opportunity to speak. And the Turkish girl, she wasn't happy with me giving instructions on the phone, and she gave me feedback. Said, why don't you write an email with all the thoughts in your head, and that works better for me. So then I realized, you know, this magic of managing a diverse team, and the leader had to make that effort to make it what I call different strokes for different folks, right? But once the team came together, it was magic, because what happens in a diverse team is you get different perspectives. Otherwise, sometimes we have this, I would say, comfort in surrounding ourselves with people like us. That's a big mistake. Big mistake. Because if we do not have people who are very, very different, who can challenge our thinking, then we are destined to fail. So, having a very diverse and inclusive workspace also provides that safety net, and helps organization and teams succeed. And it makes the outcome much more richer. And it's great to see, specifically in India, as I keep coming back in and out, more women in the workforce. And I forget who was it, Ruchir Sharma, maybe the economist who did a podcast, I remember, and he was talking about we could probably get 2% of GDP growth, higher GDP growth, if more women were to participate in the economy. And that's great to see. That is great to see. And again, you guys are going to build the fabric of tomorrow. Please be inclusive, and please let's have more women, not only in the workforce but more women in senior positions. So the men also have a job to do in terms of mentoring and providing uh, that I would say safety net and the right environment in the organization to help get women into senior positions. It's only going to help performance. It's only going to help the nation move forward. So those are the three things I would say when it comes to working with people: influencing with ethos, logos, and pathos, and focuses on ethos and focuses on pathos. Building trust. Have your trust account in the first 90 days of every job that you get into. This is a lifelong thing. Okay. It will help you succeed. And be inclusive leaders. Create an inclusive culture. So that's more around how do you work with people. I've got other topics on how to work with people, things like collaboration, a CEO CFO partnership, and I've got a chapter in this section called employeeship. Okay, but I think we will probably have to stop now because I probably have another 10 minutes to go. So read it up. It's a fantastic chapter which talks about your job as an employee in the organization before you get to a leader. So long story short, you first have to be a good employee before you become a good leader, right? And what does it need to become a good employee? And that's more relevant to folks like you who are starting. And then when it comes to getting things done, which is the third part, I talked about developing yourself, I talked about working with others, and now getting things done. Getting things done, I have my 6 Ds of getting things done. And those 6 Ds are not going to get into detail. One is drive for results. You must have the passion, the fire in your belly, right? You must have an ambition, and you must be a self starter, right? That's all about the drive for results, making things happen. You must have that energy, and that energy must be channeled in karna kya hai and problem solving rather than fretting and fuming and feeling like a victim. Second D is direction. If you are in Calcutta, want to go to Chennai, don't take the flight to Delhi. Direction is about strategy, doing the right thing, not doing things right. If you do the wrong thing right, then you will be in a, you will get fast to failure. Third is discipline. I learned this early on. I went to a boarding school up in the hills in Kurseong, growing up with 500 boarders, all living together. The discipline of getting up in the morning in that cold weather at I think 5:40 or 6 o'clock in the morning, going for breakfast together. Today, unlike our time, you all have innumerable choices for everything, from the way you lead your life, the way you consume media, the way the opportunities for jobs, etc. So you have to have a choiceful approach. Our time, we didn't have too much choice, therefore there was no issue. Prioritization wasn't an issue. Today prioritization is the number one issue. And if I talk a little bit about so today our mind is getting inundated with data. So from paucity of data, now we have abundance of data. We are getting drowned. So how do you choose? And then there is a Sanskrit word called chitta vritta nirodha, which means how to calm your mind and focus. Discipline is all about focus. How do you discipline your mind? Very important. Start early. Not an easy thing at all in today's blizzard of choices. The fourth D is about delegation. You cannot do everything on your own, and this comes later in life when you have teams and you're working with people. I have seen some leaders who always want to get into the action. My last 10 years has been more like a coach mentor outside the field. You know, instead of jumping into the field, letting people experience and helping them succeed. Sometimes they fail, then you learn from failure, right? Uh, and the fifth D is what I call doing things the right way, which is back to that point on ethics and integrity, right? And the last D is decision making. This again something you'll not realize now, but it's very important as you become leaders and managers in organization. I have seen people can't decide. They are sitting on the fence. They want more data maybe, or they are unsure. They are afraid of failure. Don't worry, it's okay. You get paid to decide. Sometimes your decisions may go wrong. That's okay. I have taken decisions which have gone wrong. But the worst decision is no decision. So those are the 6 Ds. You'll find more details in the book. So I'm going to stop here. I think I've run a little bit more than my time. I hope you found it useful. And if we have some time, I can take some questions.
Yes, so we'll be opening the floor for questions right now.
Okay.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So I have one question. So you mentioned the importance of adaptability. So for someone who has been living in his home city and wishes to go to another city for his career, what do you think is a way that we can become more adaptable towards new situation and a new environment?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I have gone through it myself. I can't tell you. My first move out of Calcutta was was not easy, and but you know what? You won't know what it is unless you take the plunge, unless you do it. Okay, so this is a little bit of fear of the unknown. My advice is trust in yourself, trust in your ability to adapt. Many others before you have done it, so why can't you do it? Right? You have to have that confidence and trust in yourself. Right? I'll tell you, I used to hate speaking, hate talking, and I'm still an introvert. I would rather spend time sitting at home watching TV, reading my favorite book rather than going out to a social event. But you put me in front of 100 people, I won't stop talking. But I wasn't like this before. When I was at your age, doing your thing, I used to be afraid when the professor would come or somebody would come close to me, I would put my head down, afraid that he'll ask me a question, he or she will ask me a question, right? So you have to get out of your comfort zone. If you don't get out of your comfort zone, you will not learn. The problem is, it's not, it's in your head. What I talked about resilience, no, it's that. ठीक है, थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होगा तो क्या प्रॉब्लम, उसमें क्या है, यू विल अडेप्ट, नो इशू. Adaptability and resilience. We haven't learned this in school and college. That's the issue. We need to spend, time and courses just talking about resilience and adaptability and do case studies on that. You can do it.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So you put emphasis on having influence and building credibility. So did you actively work for that, or was it by time formed naturally?
Just say that again. Your question was on credibility.
Yes, sir. So you actively build your credibleness, or was it formed naturally over time?
No, you have to actively work on it, my friend. Nothing happens by chance. So that's why I gave you the brand examples. Are you going to be Tata, or are you going to be Apple? Are you going to be Patagonia? You guys have heard of the brand called Patagonia? Any of you? There's a brand. There is a Look it up. There's a brand called Patagonia whose USP is giving back everything that they earn. So they are a commercial business, but almost like a non-profit. And their products are very expensive, but consumers, they are flocking to buy their product. Why? Because they have this purpose. So their credibility comes from the sense of purpose, which people don't mind paying a premium for. So they are a premium brand. So some people build their credibility because they are they are very inspirational, right? When they stand up in front of people, everybody listens. Okay, they are fantastic communicators. That's their credibility. Some people build their credibility because they are super dependable, right? You can always count on them. Some people build their credibility because they are very genuine and authentic, or they're very good with people, right? So work on your credibility. If you were a brand, what kind of a brand would you like to be? And then work towards reinforcing those brand behaviors.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we were talking about these kya karna hai situations, these high pressure situations. So in situations like these, how do you protect your quality of thinking? Like how do you ensure clarity and sound judgment in situations like these?
That's a good question. That is always a difficult thing. But you know what? I think the first thing is, when you are in the victim stage, your clarity of judgment is zero. And when you overcome that fear or that negative emotion, I would say, and come to a neutral state, your mind is better prepared to start thinking objectively. So, uh, and therefore, that transition itself helps you become more objective, and the quality of thinking improves significantly. I don't worry so much about in the karna kya hai stage whether you're compromising the quality of decision making. There will be some amount of anxiety, there will be some amount of tension. वो तो है ही है, that तो is par for the course in your professional life. वो तो होगा, right? Even when you're studying, right, or you're giving an exam or something happens, right? There is that thing. Some amount of anxiety is good because it sharpens your thinking, your focus. The real challenge is victim to karna kya hai. That is the biggest challenge because we are all human beings. It's good for me to talk about it on a session like this on a Wednesday morning. But when it really happens, no, then that's the test. That is the true test. But I would say learn to fail, learn to face these situations, and therefore, if you get yourself out of comfort zone, you will face these situations. The more situations you face, the better prepared you will be for the future. Because as you go along in life, you will realize that कोई rocket science नहीं हो रहा है. It's like अच्छा ये situation ये तो पहले हुआ था. I remember this situation. It had happened. Okay, maybe I didn't react properly, but this time I have my learning. I can then adapt and react properly. What is my learning from the other from the last time? Keep your notes. Keep your document these learnings. It's very very important to do that. So don't worry about the quality of thinking. The quality of thinking will automatically come if you can calm, steady your mind.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell and Incubation Center of St. Xavier's College Autonomous Kolkata, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Kaushik Mitra, who has devoted his time, knowledge, and invaluable contributions to this event. As we conclude today's opening ceremony, we would also like to express our sincere appreciation to our respected principal, Reverend Dr. Dominic Savio, SJ, and vice principals, Reverend Dr. Joseph Kulindai, SJ, Reverend Dr. Peter Arokian, SJ, and Professor Bertram da Silva for their constant encouragement, which inspires us to strive for excellence and uphold the esteemed Xaverian tradition. Our gratitude extends to our faculty advisor, Dr. Arup Kumar Mitra, for his unwavering support and guidance at every stage. Lastly, a special thanks to the members of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell and Incubation Center for their dedication, impeccable coordination, and commitment in making this event a success. The credit form will now be rolled out in the YouTube chat box. Attendees are requested to fill it immediately. Thank you for tuning in with EDCIC. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you. Have a great day. See you guys.
Thank you so much, sir.